Good morning, everyone. New mission. And now I think I've fixed my mic issues. It should be nice and loud and easy to hear, even over the roar of an RM8 on taxi. So, this is more my kind of mission. So our task for today is to strike, I'll use this map tool here, to stripe the ramp, oh dear, yep, here we go, at Sochi Air Base. Should be good fun. Now, where it's a bit complex is we have to be exactly on time, or fairly close to time. Complicated by the fact that we have to hold for a while. So we take off, we hold down here with the rest of the package, then we all sort of fly in. We've got, where are we? Yeah. So our task is, nailing these various ramps. Being Springfield 1, I'm guessing we're hitting the eastern ramp. It's not really clear exactly what I'm hitting, but I think it's all pre-planned and preloaded in the cartridge, so I just fire at that waypoint. But yeah, we've got fighter sweep, we've got strike, escort, seed, and some standoff jamming from Tornado. I'm not sure how well standoff jamming is actually modelled in Tornado, considering it's probably hard to sort of check that or test it, but I'm sure the Grim Reapers could do that for us. Yeah, Cap, see if you can work out whether the standoff jamming works. Anyway, we take off using BK-90, probably the most advanced, or one of the most advanced weapons on the Viggen. It's an INS guided cluster munition, and it's a glide weapon. So you drop it at fairly high speed from moderate altitude, and it sort of glides its way in and then peppers a target with cluster weapons. It's very important that your INS is as accurate as it can be when you use this weapon. Any error in your system will translate immediately to the bomb, and you're talking about error from target, so yeah, your weapon's going to miss. We will be monitoring our turn nav as we fly in. Good news is that we've got some really clear fix points to use here before we leave holding point, and the terrain's quite mountainous, so we should have plenty of time for the turn nav to correct its navigation. We could, if we work out what this waypoint actually is, let's check out which waypoint this is. There we go. So we're not going to look too closely at all this. We just want to see what our fixes are. So this is our IP point, and yeah, there's nothing really there. That's a clear enough fix. I could move this and make it a really clear fix, but I don't think so. Like this town here could be a decent fix point, depending on how good the visibility is. What time are we flying from? Can we see? Yeah. Early morning. Should be right. Okay, but if we do need to fix, that's no good either. So you sort of want a bridge or a really clear... the dam. The dam's not a bad fix, although it's a bit wider than I'd have liked. If I could just move him... I can't move them here anyway. So at worst, we can use the dam for fixing, but we'll probably just let the turn nav handle it. It's pretty good. So our attack is, along here. So we want to make sure our waypoints are correct. So not looking too closely at the target, because that's cheating. We're going to just run a... There we go, across here. So final heading needs to be 242 to target. So I want to check on my CI, my radar at the bottom, that my target is lined up at 242 degrees. Being off's not the worst thing in the world, but it will mean that, it won't be nearly as accurate or effective, I should say. And we'll go back here and just reload it. Okay, so yeah, we're carrying only 2 BK-90s. I want to carry a bit more than that if I can. We've got the payload for it. We've got the fuel for it. You know what? Let's carry 2 if we can. Where are we? Where's my standard BK-90? There we go. Now we want the combined effects, which these are. Cool. Still got our winders, just carrying twice the payload. And I'll let my wing guy stick with what he's got there so we don't freak him out too much. And 4 BK-90s. Also means the fit. So maybe I'm going to slow my my approach a little bit by carrying those extra pods, but we'll see. Oh, Trek IR. Take a breather. Alright. Yeah, I had the entire startup bound onto my HOTAS. The seat now. Will I get it right this time? Hey, I did! I'm gonna leave this out. So yeah, you use most weapons in the attack part of the roundel. There we go. Dropping in series. We are going to add a modifier to the BK-90 address. That's annoying. Also, if you're getting hypoxia, that's the oxygen valve. I haven't in the Viggen yet because who flies high in a Viggen? But it's there if you need it. I always put these lights on, even during the day. Let's try a bit. There we go. 9099. Windows theme. Do 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 do. Now, here's the cool part. As it says in the briefing, since our target is a long, thin target, we actually want them to be a long release or a line release. So into the tact, we load 921. And if I pause again, I'll pull out my chart here. Tact 92. There we go. So, that's interesting. I have a different... It says here it's 81 for a long release. 811 should be the long release. Well, let's see if it actually will input. And if that didn't work, we'll try 921, which does nothing else, I think, so... Alright, well, one of them worked. Now we'll, guess we'll taxi. It's a bit of a quieter start, no real comms happening. Radio powered up, didn't it? It's a nice thing if you know.
Batumi, clear to taxi to runway 31.
You know, actually, sorry guys, I might just drop drop the volume of voice in this game because it is fairly... Wow, which one is it again? I think it's helmet. It's a bit loud, and I think that's half the problem we have with my recordings, is the mic's been low and the radio's been loud. Let's test that. Yeah. Almost always put Slav SI into Fron, which is off. I like keeping the HUD on. It's supposed to declutter the HUD when you're low, but the Viggen's got a pretty clean HUD anyway, so... So this is like a perfect Viggen mission. Our target is known, we have it in the cartridge. We could fly this, I mean, we'll likely fly it with the radar off the whole way in. I might just confirm some waypoints with it, but the jet's got everything it needs.
Springfield 1-1, unable to clear for takeoff.
Terrible, aren't I? Let's line up this time. Do a bit of a...
Springfield 1-1,
and
unable to
fix.
clear for takeoff. Springfield 1-1, Batumi, you are cleared for takeoff when ready. Climb 300 at QFE 29.89.
On takeoff, you want to keep your flight path marker below the top pole. And that's just to avoid angle of attack limits and stuff when you're very slow. Now, if we're going to be holding anyway, let's just keep it pretty chill. Follow our friends out. I reckon we don't even need all that support from the package. Could just send myself in there and just...
Springfield 1, radar contact. Proceed to holding point. Stand by for push order.
Copy that. Autopilot's on. Oh, that looks pretty cool actually, doesn't it? That's pretty cool. That's a real package. So holding between 1 and 2 on the way in. You know, it's funny, it's rare to see more than 2 Viggens up in the air on multiplayer servers, in single missions. They're just usually a niche thing that comes out once in a while. It's nice seeing a good swarm of them. So we are definitely Springfield 1-1. Yep. So that's 3 ahead of us, and these guys are Springfield 2. Yep. Alright. Getting a lot of radar activity, but out this far it's going to be mostly friendly. I'm happy to ignore that. Why am I still getting a floating... Look at that. You see that? You normally don't see a fin separated from the flight path marker unless you're in landing mode. Let's... Huh. Gears up. Oh, I know what this is. Yeah, I know what this is. This is a this is to do with timed waypoints. So we are supposed to be at that waypoint at a certain time, but because we're going to hold, this isn't accurate. This is an indication of what airspeed to fly to to arrive at the destination on time. You rarely see this in. I mean, I haven't seen it yet actually in missions. I've read about it in the manual, but kind of cool, really. While we're cruising in, things to bind in the Viggen. Thanks to this radar stick here, the master mode switch here is kind of hard to find sometimes. You want to bind nav and ANF, so you can switch rapidly between them as needed for pop-up attacks. I always rush that. Your radar gain is another one. So as an example, that's the radar at neutral gain here, which is a bit faint. And if you just leave it there, you're thinking, well, the radar's not very strong, but dump some gain in there, and you sort of can play with it. I have it set to the increment sort of slider on my Warthog, and you can get some quite good resolution. Like I can see the trees, and at closer ranges you can see power lines. And for, say, like fixing, you know, you really want that to be as clear and sharp as possible. That's very fuzzy, isn't it? But yeah. So 2 things that you really want to have set. Now I will say, for these kind of pre-planned missions, you can... I mean, your radar should not turn on, besides for ranging right on the attack point. It's all inside. It's a great system. And it's designed for those Cold War attacks where the target's going to be behind clouds and terrain, and you come in nice and low. It's surprisingly automatic for considering when this system was put in place. Oh yeah. So your number keys up the top of the keyboard will switch waypoints, which is easier than going down here and pressing these. Yeah, we've basically passed waypoint 1, waypoint 2. Let's keep an idea of where the package is. Oh, we're right in the formation, aren't we? There's always more to learn in the Viggen. And so here, where the sun's coming through the HUD, I'm using the ADI to do my navigation. it's been well over a year, but the new trees coming through just really improved this map out of sight. It's the best thing ED ever did besides releasing the Viggen. And just quickly, if you're ever tasked with nailing an S300, which is what the Viggen should be doing in multiplayer servers, yeah, coming in low and BK-90ing S300 is most impressive. Good for one's kills, kill ratio too. I'm going to assume we'll get a call from command to tell us to make the attack. So we actually want to arrive there at 7:40 was the, or 7:41. So we should be hitting our target right on that point there. Just deviated quite badly from my height. Back to 1. So when you turn in the Viggen, notice this is a fairly sort of sharpish turn. Our speed rapidly decays down through the maneuver curve here into the scary oh god, the engine's going to shut down curve. So you either want to add some burn when you're making a turn, or diving like I have here a little bit, just to keep yourself with enough angle of attack, or a small enough angle of attack to not risk the engine. So one of the main reasons I would really like the fighter version of the Viggen. We this being the attack variant, here we go. Apparently they added a second stage to the JA-37 Viggen, the fighter Viggen, which can handle more turbulent air coming in. So as a fighter, it's going to be doing a lot more turning and banking and dogfighting. So they fixed the compressibility problem, and you'll hear it if we start, turning really sharply at low speed. I'll show you a bit now, actually. So watch this, right? We're at 450, which is not bad. Nice shot. Hear that? Now, if you maintain that, particularly with sudden bursts, oh yeah, you will hear a thumping sound in your engine. If that gets too intense, your engine turns off, and at this height, that's probably going to mean an ejection. So that's probably the biggest oh god no moment you can get in a Viggen when you're starting out, besides, flying low level at night, like our last mission. So if you're dogfighting, the burner goes on. That's basically how this thing works. You need the burner to maintain a decent thrust to weight ratio to pull yourself around those turns. So what are we doing? Are we still holding? Bit of time acceleration. Must have hit some kind of wind then. So we should be pushing at about 20 past, so not long. One of the most neglected gauges in the cockpit is often the clock. Here's a question. Is it ticking? I hope so. The city of Poti is getting quite the air show today. I reckon that clock's not really ticking. Oh, yes it is. Yes it is. So not much longer. What else can I show off in the Viggen while we're just orbiting around like this? Probably should start editing my videos to cut the waiting out. Simplest thing would be to timestamp them, I think. Just say, you know, what city is this? I should know what that is. Lanchuti. Well, there you go. Back to 1. Almost ready. We've been so patient. Let's give Lanchuti a bit of a air show, right? It'll help in our turn anyway. Oh, I could probably land on one of these roads sometime. I'm always looking for more road bases to add to my road base collection. Insert General Grievous pun or meme. See, that looks pretty. And the trees aren't too close. We've got... That's not really long enough though for everybody else. Alright, let's return back to sanity again. That's quite a nice little spot of road there. So where are we? Yeah, just to the west of Lanchuti. So now the fins drop down below because it's saying, you know, we need to actually slow down to try and get there on time.
Night flight. Strikers pushing it.
Cold pushing.
Cold 2 pushing.
Springfield 2 pushing.
Springfield 3 pushing.
Springfield 1 pushing. Let's head to waypoint 3. Now the real flight begins. So, we're in series mode, but this does mean we will drop 2 at once, not all 4. So we will get 2 trigger pushes. Alright, I'm going to show you again in a moment, but just do you see how those inner BK-90s are almost kind of touching the fuel tank? Should I be dropping one or both of them at the same time to try and avoid collisions? Just noticed that. We've got plenty of time to get there, and I'm good at making up time, so I'm going to take it a little slower on the way in. Such a beautiful map. Hope one day we get some kind of seaplanes. Alright, we are lagging behind a little. Let's push it up slightly. Give us burner 1 just for a little bit. There we go. So these little wobbly turns that I'm doing here are still under autopilot control, and that's a standard rate turn. You set the trim hat to the right or to the left, and instead of trimming, which you wouldn't do under autopilot, the aircraft banks in a controlled way. It's good for forming orbits over a target area, while the JTAC gets his stuff all organised. This game runs so much better without SLI. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, we'll use barometrics here. So this is your radar control, whether you want it to be radar, your altimeter control, whether you want it to be radar, altimeter, or I'm guessing this is barometric. So right now I'm using barometric to not worry about the height above terrain. Hot tip, don't press this at night. Oh, that's a question. What's the... that's not good. So I can't change the pages or anything on my kneeboard. So what's the... you sort of want to have a really good... Ugh, that's a bit yucky. We don't have the QFV for the target, do we? Because I kind of want that to be correct for BK-90s, or else they do all kinds of funny things. They'll still basically work, but... I love this, by the way, too. Alright, let's keep flying. I'll try and work it out. There is a way, assuming we have flat terrain, there is a way to do this. There's also a calculation to do it, but I am a little CBF at the moment. My videos are a bit long anyway, so having me doing maths in flight probably isn't going to help that. Got the formula written down somewhere around here. Alright. Let's get this mission on the roll. Alright, where are we in the... Okay, yeah, we're in a good spot and a good speed. We're going to hit the dam. Yeah, see, actually, look at this, right? See, we've got a 5 here and 0. That means the system is actively updating our position using the turn nav. And there is 0 predicted deviation from the navigation system. That's really good. Yeah, this TERCOM is brilliant. And it's a way of comparing, for example, the early F-16s and the Mirage 2000 we had in DCS. They didn't have GPS update or a TERCOM. Few aircraft, I think, did, besides bombers and cruise missiles. It's more of a cruise missile technology, actually. But the Viggen did. Despite being such an early aircraft, the system will fix itself on a known elevation map of the terrain automatically, which is really, really impressive, particularly in a small country like Sweden, to put together a fighter that can do that. In an F-16, we would be fixing off the HUD or fixing off the radar or something to try and align our systems. And if you've flown the Mirage 2000, you know that fixing it is it's something you have to pay attention to. Switch back to radar. Not a bad idea to actually bind your QFE either. That's something you can consider doing as well. Ah, yes. The Nguri Dam. When I first got lock on, I must have dropped, you know, I flew just continuous missions dropping Mark 84s onto that dam trying to crack it. I was a deviant child back then. Now I'm going to fly to the left of this valley to try and give my wingman a bit more space to maneuver. I think we're not going to bother trying to catch the end of this now. Let's just go straight up and over. Alright, 725.
Flight, go trail.
Group
Taking
1.
waypoint 4 at 7,000. Flight, go trail. 2, roger.
That should make it easier for him to follow me. And actually, if you're doing low-level flying like this, it's probably what you want to do flying online with friends as well. If you are flying, you know, in a Viggen with someone at low altitude, don't try and fly fingertip formations. It just will end in tears. Pull up your combat spread and just keep it chill. Actually keeping visual track of your wingman in a Viggen, in a typical Viggen mission is actually really hard. Partly because they do things like this and hide behind hills on you, but also a lot of speed, you're green, the ground's green. Yeah. Probably offset slightly. I might just tuck in this way to avoid some of these hills. Yep. That's not a good sound.
Contact bearing 271.110.
Alright, chaps, let's
Contact bearing 267.110.
Alright.
Contact bearing 270.1.
Yep. You're gonna call out every single contact you see. That's not gonna help us. So on the HUD, this is an indicator of our ground radar. We just lost it. So yeah, these little layers here. Yeah, with no radar on, you get no proximity warning besides the low altitude. So at night, radar goes on. Okay. Let's get back in our groove. There we go. We'll be dragging behind a little bit, not too much. We're supposed to be at the tail end of the attack anyway. And you'll see with just with dry thrust. Good to hear. That means they're jamming. But yeah, with dry thrust, we're still holding pretty good speed. Mach 0.6. Not even trying, and with a payload. When you top a hill, avoid sustained negative G. It's yeah, it's a bit of a worry. The engine can't feed fully when there's negative G. It's got a small bag that does, but so the feeder tank will feed the engine at negative G, but beyond a certain amount of seconds, that tank will dry, and the engine will cut out. So if you're topping a hill, typically, I'll show you up ahead when we get over this one. Where are we? Oh, a bit messy, isn't it? Let's just get closer here. So let's say we were trying to go as low as possible and really minimize our radar exposure. If you just push down at the end of this for the 6 seconds it takes to clear the mountain, you may cull your engine, particularly I think in burner, when it's burning more fuel. So we just do the rollover. Also, it looks sick. And if you're being pursued by someone, which we are, he's a friend, but still we're being pursued, you roll over, and then you've got so many seconds of broken line of sight. And if you've played Assassin's Creed or Thief, you know that breaking line of sight and then hiding somewhere means the other guy doesn't see you. Now, if you're flying against the AI's a cheating bastard, he still knows you're there. But if you're flying against a human player in a plane that is painted like this, flying against the terrain, yeah, I've lost enemies in hills like this. Alright, let's check on our package. How's it going out there? Yeah, we're almost there. The Phantoms are ahead on both sides. See, I'd almost prefer to just go in on my own. What do they got here? Like an SA-6? Yeah. That's, the way we fly it, that's not really a huge threat. Burner 1. Whereas this way, the fighters are being detected, the SAMs are activated and looking. Well, this is the brute force package. We're breaking the defences so that we don't have to deal with them. We're not evading them. Which is fine, but I think the way, certainly in Sweden, Viggens operate is they evade defences rather than trying to smash them all the time. It's one of the reasons why I'm pretty sure Sweden does not have a SEAD weapon. It doesn't have a harm or alarm missile, as far as I know. Whether it should is up for debate, but the way they operate is just to evade and jam SAM defences. Alright. See, staying a bit high here. Our target's over here. Let's see, topographically. There's a break. Big sort of bay, which I think is around here somewhere, which we're seeing here. Ah, at the bridge we killed last time? Somewhere along here it was. Anyway. I'll turn the radar back on. Radar warning. It's a long way in. So that's going to be part of our package. It's behind us. BK-90 is kind of automatic as well. I'm a big fan of doing these attacks with rockets and things, just to make it more involved for the pilot. Okay, we are lagging behind. Burner 1. So our system is saying we're actually going to be way early, but just by observing where our package is. Have they shut up yet, or what do you reckon? Should we turn on the radio? Hmm, 60% fuel. We will have less weight and drag on the way home, but yeah, those BK-90s are pretty heavy.
Passing waypoint 6 at 16. 1. Tally. Utility at 4309.4.
Let's not start that nonsense again. I kind of want to just roll straight in, because we're still going to have to deal with these hills anyway. Yeah, let's be Anakin Skywalker. I'll take him now. Mission point.
Flight.
Okay, ANF mode. We want to be at least 0.9, oh sorry, 0.85 is the lowest you can drop these. And 0.9 is a good speed. Safety off. Yeah, so that's saying not in parameters. So we're too slow and yeah. We do have a lot of hills right up towards the target, but the alarms are going in. I think we'll be right. Must be the ships tracking us out there. Well, they're welcome to fire at us, but we're going to be behind hills before too long. See, the Russians really did take these valleys. They'd be putting SAMs and spotters all through these hills to try and pick up people like us trying to sneak behind.
Rolling in.
How are we looking? Lots of alarms going in. Oh, hold on. We have to hit this at a certain angle, don't we? Ah. You can be too clever in the Viggen. There's a reason we're flying to this point. Alright, we just need to match the heading, which, if we remember carefully, was... which I don't remember, hence I'm going to do a bit of this. Ruler tool. Can't see what's here. 242. We can get to that, no worries. Burner 2. So we must release at when this indicator hits 242. Oh, yeah, there's still plenty of SAMs down there. Huh. Got some smoke trails. I'm hoping they're ours.
Springfield 2 in from the north.
Alright, we are on heading. 245, a little bit more. Okay, we're at a decent speed to drop, powering on to get to 0.9. Oh, this hill. Alright, we need to get back on heading. We're deviating slightly in, that's probably good enough though. Master arm on, burner on. Sam's tracking us. Oh wow. Yep, at speed. Not getting parameters. Speed's too high. Come on, you can glide that far, can't you? Holding the speed. Burner 1, I think. Come on, you got this. You've got this. Yeah, we go. Parameters. Here it comes. Series. That's 2 gone. And 2 more. Pulling off now. I'm going to get behind cover and see if I can get you a view of what happens to this target area. Alright, that should be a relatively safe heading. Roll to remove that, make it look cool. Pause. Okay, so where are our BK-90s? They're not far off, actually. So, F7, F8, F11, F12. Here we go. Gee, it's really pretty through here, isn't it? Let's see if we hit our target. Bombs hitting the runway. Can we see them come in? they're shooting at the BK-90s. They might even get some, but I don't think so. And let's just take a look at them. Am I going to crash? Yes, I am. Pull up. Terrain. Pull up. Come on. How much? Oh, yeah, here they come in. First. Yes! Very nice. Target hit. Alright, power off. Let's get home. El Mal. What's the straightest line there? That's across the ocean. Should we risk it? Yeah. Alright, so that's the enemy's main runway. Shattered.
Egressing southeast.
Nay, egressing.
Springfield 2, runway destroyed. Egressing.
Knight sounded very Scottish then. Knight, regressing. That's right. Or egressing, not regressing. That's my job. So we should expect lots of AAA to come up from Abkhazia, which is the area we're sort of flying through, but once we hit civilized, or populated areas, I should say, we should be at risk of that. I'd better leave that radar warning receiver on, just in case. My Viggen is much nicer to fly now that it's lighter. Alright, exposed to threats, let's put ourselves down into this valley. Alright, flight. Navigation. Go home, man.
Flight RTB.
Alright, we're going to stay dry, but keep our speed up. So it's saying right now that we do not have enough fuel to get home, but I think that fraction will improve as we get moving. Maybe we don't. I did do a lot of burning, so that might be part of the problem here. And I would love to fly nice and high, but we're going to get tagged by those ships if we do that. Any AAA through here? Well, doing 0.8 the speed of sound, they don't have a lot of time to acquire us and shoot and lead. The calculation's improving. Yeah, we should be right. And over the ocean, just want to stick it in autopilot and get low. There's got to be AAA from that town over there. Let's really take it low. 20 meters, 10 meters, autopilot on. Radar says 0 meters. Yeah, that's pretty low. I'd be a bit cautious about dropping that tank at this sort of height. Bring the power back a bit. AWACS, what do you see, bro? Well, firstly, let's just look again. So even the MiGs that are left are not really flyable. BK-90 is a serious bit of gear. Yeah. When they first came out, you drop one of those, the number of physics objects that would come out would just capsize the server. We were known for it. We'd actually call out over the radio, yep, BK-90 is coming in. See, we avoided all of these defenses. Where are they? So that's a really cool emplacement. But yeah.
Stingray, Night 1, BDA as follows. Both runways hit. Comms bunker destroyed. Multiple aircraft burning on the ramps. Base ammunition and fuel storage in flames.
Stingray, roger. Well done.
Alright. Well, if you want to, that's the end of the tactical mission. I'm just going to fly all the way home and land. It's funny, even in the Hornet, I don't feel comfortable doing this. Any sort of turbulence, and it just feels like the whole thing's going to rock into the water. But we've throttled right back to save fuel, and we're still holding a cool 0.8, which looks like this. And on the deck like this, I've seen Mark 1.4 clean, and 1.3 or 1.2 with weapons, depending on what you're carrying. But that's quick. There's not many aircraft that do that. There's a lot of aircraft that say they're supersonic that are generally considered supersonic and really aren't once you get low, or only with the burners on full, and lots of fuel being burned, and no sort of payload. Might just be my sort of rivet counting sort of arrogance, but I reckon the Hornet probably isn't quite so easy to get supersonic with a payload on. It's possible that they've just sort of approximated a figure or something, but I've spoken with a couple of Hornet pilots, and yeah, certainly not with a full air-to-air loadout on the deck. It just seems like we're asking a lot of that straight wing and those engines. But the Viggen...
Stingray, picture update. Fast-moving contacts from the northwest. Assume enemy fighters vector to intercept you. Expedite egress.
About to say, geez, we're leading the pack, so we're quite safe. 2 MiGs from Galenzik, they're not going to catch us. Even if they are on the blower, which they are. Supersonic. So nice and high, they're going to move really quick to catch us. But I don't see a MiG-29 tracking us all that well in this position. Alright, let's risk pressing time acceleration. It's possible that we may just go straight into the water if the game lags at all. I wouldn't go much faster than this, put it that way. What's our TID? 8 minutes. But, you know, we're accelerated, so maybe 3. Now we could conserve some more fuel by popping up, which I think, considering where we are, is probably worth doing. One thing to notice as well, if you do cross supersonic speed at low altitude, is mark tuck. The aircraft will pitch forward when you cut through the speed of sound, just for a little bit. You'll see a warning here, which is the transonic one here. This light will come on. Even if you're in autopilot, heads up for that. That can catch you out. It was a lot worse early on when the game launched, and it's pretty gentle now. But if you're flying one sheet of A4 paper above the water, and that hits you, yeah. And I'll throttle back slightly for more fuel. Not sure what the rest of the package was doing, but we kind of wanted to get home, didn't we? Oh, Mol. Are we landing at Kataisi, is it? Landing at Batumi, yeah. Yeah, looks alright. Now let's pull up the base. Base 11. Once we get within, I reckon, what, 40 k's, we'll call our approach. Remembering too that we're looking at Swedish miles that are 10 kilometers, which is not a decimeter. That's 10 centimeters, which I'm surprised we don't use more often. That'd be a good, useful sort of measurement. But we'll discuss metric measurements in another video. Come on, I want to get home already. Oh, we got to change over that again, don't we? Oh, what's this? Brah. That's fuel, isn't it? Yeah, we're actually really low on fuel. Yeah. Alright, well, Barna Grants, we're going to have to make an emergency landing if it gets to that point. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, none in the No radar warnings from behind, so that's all just friendly radar, probably our AWACS or something. Oh, we are definitely very low on fuel. Let's punch the tank. It's not really worth doing at this point. We'll be right. Good weather. We'll just let it cruise at a lower speed. I think 550 is a good number. I got asked the other day how good the Viggen is at dogfighting. Remembering that it is an attack plane, I don't mind the Viggen in a dogfight. The longer it goes, the worse it gets for you, quickly. So if you're doing lots of turns, you're going to run out of energy and start stalling your engine out and diving for the deck. That said, you've got a lot of power and you've got a lot of lift. So if you pull on the stick, you get a great turn rate. And in testing with most modules, when it comes to that first turn, you can usually match or at least be competitive with things like Mirage, which has a really good turn rate. F-16 somewhat, although it's hard to really judge that considering how early that module is in its life. The Hornet's a special case. If you try and angle of attack fight the Hornet, so pitch rate the Hornet, it will kill you. And that's true with just about everything in DCS outside of the, I-16. But yeah, my advice, if you're going to dogfight anything, particularly say a MiG-29, which is your common adversary, kill it quick. Point the nose, use your power, burn some airspeed, and kill it quick with a Sidewinder, and get out. Whether you kill it or not, don't look for the shot, just dive low and get out. The longer that fight goes on, the worse it gets for you. Against things like the Tomcat, you do have a better pitch rate through most regimes, but the Tomcat keeps fighting even when it's slow, and it's probably the one module where we don't have a power advantage over, which is the Tomcat. But yeah, against things like MiG-21s, we fare pretty well, particularly low altitude. I wonder how, say, the fighter version of the Viggen would go. I mean, they aren't going to be as agile as F-16s and Hornets and things with FCSs, flight control systems, like the fly-by-wire. But it's a good airframe. It's very clean and lots of power. If you put the burner in, you will build airspeed back quickly. Just remember, you haven't got a whole heap of fuel. And yeah, and don't fight two guys at once. You will not have the energy to kill them both. Good news is though, if you ever want to run away from a fight, this is the plane to do it in. Just get low, put the burner on, and leave them in the tracks. There was one mission where Robert and I, Tractor, another good channel to check out, he made a mission with, what was it, MiG-31 and all kinds of SAMs, and I spent the whole mission going, any second now I'm going to die. We had foxhounds chasing us, we had SAMs going everywhere, we hit our target, blew it to smithereens, and then, yeah, I was just certain we were going to die. And we just stayed low, stayed fast, put the terrain between us and kept breaking locks, and they were firing at us. There were lots of R-33s in the air, and they never got us. That's sort of where my love of the Viggen really came along. And having someone who knows their stuff teach you, that's probably not necessarily me, but someone like, I had Tractor teach me. But there's John XX, I think his tutorials are some of the best. Lauby does some great short summaries. If you're about to roll into a target and go, actually, how do I fire this thing? You can usually pull up, even on a multiplayer server in real time, a Crash Lauby video, and then just to crash course it in flight. So that's pretty cool. Getting a little low and a little slow. I can pop the gear out, which gives me more lift, but then boosts my drag. fuel's not so bad. We're not gonna be so bad. So let's go ATC, Batumi.
Batumi.
Here he is.
Springfield 1-1. Inbound.
Springfield 1-1. Batumi, fly heading 311 for 2. QFE 29.89. Runway 13 to pattern altitude.
A lot of people I talk to find the Viggen just so complicated and stressful to fly.
Springfield 1-1. Cleared for visual. Contact.
Batumi. Springfield 1-1. Request landing.
Gear down. But I find it actually quite relaxing to fly. A lot of the really difficult tasks of making a long-range attack like we just did are handled automatically. I can rely on my systems. I don't have to fix. I can if I need to, but I don't usually need to. Yeah, it's funny. You've got a very clean HUD, far less information overload than say in a JF-17 or a Hornet, and yeah, it's pleasant to fly, very stable. You can trust the autopilot. Don't so much trust the auto thrust, which I'll actually try here. Let's see if it'll get me onto speed. So handoff throttle, we just put that on there. Yeah, the auto thrust is kind of scary, particularly if you put it in 15-degree mode for the shortest landing possible. It's not very stable and it doesn't react quickly. It's probably fine here as
Springfield 1-1. Batumi, check landing gear. Wind 170 at 4 meters per second. Runway 13.
getting a sort of a surging happening here. I'll do some trim instead of trying to pitch with it. Oh, I don't like this. Yeah, see that? But it works. And if you need to cut your workload, it's better than getting it wrong manually. Not liking that very much. Let's just give it a bit of margin of error. There we go. And now, as we just cross the threshold, we do a slight... There we go. Now the reverser triggers when the nose gear is compressed. So get that nose gear down soon, and use your brakes for differential steering, and you can do a landing inside the tire marks. That wasn't even me really trying. That's fairly... Oh, Jesus. Let's just drop this jet on its side, hey? That'll really impress the viewers. There we go. Yeah. For short range landings, practice them, and they become quite exhilarating. You can stop very shortly. And putting it down on roads, I would recommend not using the 15 degrees. It means you come in a lot slower, well, a fair bit slower. So you might think, well, that's good, it means I can fix this off. Better scope. Yeah, you might... Alright, chat.